Okay, so good morning everyone. My name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this session, we'll be discussing Indian Express newspaper. We'll go through 4-5 important articles. We'll be talking about India-Russia relations as well because there are too many articles, like I guess 4-5 articles are there with respect to Russia and India. So we'll be taking an overview of that, and then we'll be talking about safe harbor protection clause. When we are talking about the IT Act, we have this safe harbor clause with respect to the intermediaries which are performing on the online or the which are providing the online services. Okay, so we'll be talking about that. Then moving to the next one, that is Florida carpenter ants. Okay, so there is this specific you can say species of ants which are basically actually going for, you can say, treatment kind of thing for the fellow or the when we are talking about ants, they are living in nets, and if they are you can say if there is certain kind of problem or some kind of injury which has happened to a particular limb, okay, so these ants will be helping their fellow mates. Okay, so we'll be talking about that. Then moving to the last one, that is Russia's highest civilian order to Indian PM. Okay, so this order has been given to our Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the visit which on when he was in Russia. Okay, and after that we'll be talking about one article for your own read, and in the end there will be a practice question. Okay, so let's start with the first part, that is your practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture. So let's see, which year did the Supreme Court of India passes its historic judgment on passive euthanasia? I told you that you have to attempt this question and answer in the comment box. Other than that, I have also asked the name of the case. Okay, so when we are talking about the which year, that was 2018. Okay, and the name of the case was Common Cause versus Union of India. Okay, so that was the case in which they have actually allowed the passive euthanasia. Okay, we have discussed what is passive euthanasia, we have discussed what is active euthanasia. Okay, and what are the, you can say, provision with respect to that in India. Okay, in India we don't have active euthanasia, we only allow passive euthanasia, that too only in the certain cases. Okay, so let's move further and start with the first article of the day, that is related to a defamation case against Wikipedia. You must have heard the name Wikipedia. Okay, and this is kind of an digital encyclopedia which is there on the internet. Okay, and when we are talking about a particular news agency Asia sorry, News agency Asian News International, ANI, they have actually gone for a defamation case against Wikipedia for some kind of misleading information which has been put on the Wikipedia against the news here. This News International or Asian News International, that is a news agency. Okay, now the thing is, when we are talking about Wikipedia, it is an intermediary. Okay, when we are talking about these intermediaries, the thing is, let's say if on internet there is a company which is providing you a platform, and then there is this audience. Okay, on that particular platform anyone can come and write something over there, and anyone can actually see it. Okay, so basically platform is basically an intermediary which is connecting two people, let's say one who is writing the content, second who is watching the content. Okay, so Wikipedia is also one intermediary. Okay, we will be talking about that. Now, since there was this misleading content which has been there, and because of which this news agency has gone for the defamation case against the Wikipedia, so there are certain clauses which they have used when we are talking about this particular complaint which has been filed. So those clauses we'll be discussing. The clauses are, you can say, section 79 clause 2 and clause 3 of the act, that is IT Act. Okay, so we'll be talking about these sections. We will be see what is basically this safe harbor protection clause which is there in the IT Act. Okay, so let's start with the discussion. News agency Asian News International has moved Delhi High Court against the Wikipedia for allowing allegedly defamatory content on the ANI's wiki page. Okay, moving further, so basically the court has sought a response from Wikipedia, and they have actually given the next date, that is 20th August. This is not important for us. Complaint against Wikipedia. So basically, what is the complaint? So this news agency has gone for you can say they have sought damages of nearly 2 crore rupees, alleging that the content is palpably false and defamatory, reputation was being tarnished, and goodwill was discredited. Okay, so because of the information which has been put on the wiki page of the news agency, so basically there are certain you can say, when we are talking about such information or misinformation, etc., this has an impact on the, you can say, reputation of that particular company, so which has been happening, and that is why they have gone for the defamation case. Now here the petition contends that the false and misleading content on Wikipedia raises doubt about the ANI's credibility as a news agency. Okay, now content posted on Wikipedia, when we are talking about Wikipedia, how it started, etc. So here you can see Wikipedia started in 2001. Itself does not procure the content. So basically the thing is Wikipedia does not actually produce content, and Wikipedia does not put the content on the, you can say, their wiki pages, but there are, you can say, people who can actually go and write something over there. Here you can say it does not produce the content for its online encyclopedia. It is collaborative and open source non-profit platform where user contribute to the content of the website. As I told you, not by the Wikipedia, but the thing is there are various users on the Wikipedia, they put content on their pages. Okay, the suit against the Wikipedia rather than the individual who could have made the edits to the page is intended to ensure enforcement by the holding the intermediary liable. So basically someone else has put this information on the news agency's wiki page, and now the news agency is suing the Wikipedia. Now you can say that this is an effort wherein intermediary which has been actually you can say this is an effort to make sure that intermediaries are also liable. Okay, so that is why this particular petition has been filed. Again, when I'm talking about this particular thing, that is Wikipedia is an intermediary. They does not put the content themselves. There are various users, since it is a, you can say, open source platform, users can come and make edits. Okay, now in this case they have not sued the user, or you can say the person who has put the content over here or who has made the edits, but they have sued the Wikipedia. Okay, now coming to the next part, that is laws involved in the case. Okay, now here you can say ANI has argued that Wikipedia is a significant social media intermediary. Okay, under the meaning of section 2 clause 1 subclause W of the Information Technology Act 2000, any person who on behalf of any person receives, stores, transmit that record or provides any services with respect to the record, that includes telecom services, network service providers, internet service provider, web hosting service provider, search engine, online payment sites, online auction sites, online marketplace, and cyber cafes. So these are basically the services. You can go through these services. Now the definition of the intermediary is that any person who is on behalf of another person. Okay, so basically on behalf of someone else, if you are actually, you know, you are receiving, storing, or transmitting any kind of record or providing any kind of services. Okay, so basically intermediary is someone who is providing services to another user, and that can actually get the access to the particular service. Okay, so basically we can say that these are basically third person, or they are, let's say this is the platform, this is me who actually has something to put on the Wikipedia. So I'll register myself over here and I will make some edits to Wikipedia's, or you can say someone's wiki page. Okay, and then this is the intermediary, and this is the person who is actually you can say audience, who is watching this particular content. Okay, so now this platform is intermediary between this person who is sending the information, this person who is watching the information, and this is the intermediary. This is what has been actually the definition has been given in the IT Act. Okay, after that, moving to the next part, which is basically section 79(2) and section 79 clause 2 and clause 3. Okay, so when we are talking about 79 clause 2 and clause 3, these are basically certain clause which are added to the IT Act. Okay, these are related to the provision of safe harbor clause. Now safe harbor clause is basically something where it is been talked about that the intermediaries are not basically liable. Okay, why? Because content has been put by this, audience has watched it, they have only provided a platform. Okay, so that is why they in certain cases won't be liable, or you can say that a certain kind of protection has been provided to the intermediaries. Okay, so now coming to the safe harbor clause here, section 79 of the IT Act, exemptions from the liability of intermediary in certain cases, states that the intermediary shall not be held legally or otherwise liable for any third party information, data, communication link made available on the host platform. Okay, now this is what a intermediary is. When we are talking about the intermediaries, they are basically not liable in case someone else has put something on their website. Okay, and that has been accessed by the audience. So that is what has been talked about in the section 79 of the IT Act, which is basically a safe harbor for intermediaries. Okay, now coming to the next part, the protection shall be applicable if the intermediary does not in any way initiate the transmission of the message in the question, select the receiver of the transmitted message, modify any information contained in the transmission according to section 79 clause 2 subclause B. Now the thing is, it is very simple that if you or the platform or the intermediary did not actually start the circulation of that particular message, content was not prepared by them, and they have not selected the receiver. Okay, so make sure that they did not have interfered in the transmission in any way. Okay, so basically if someone else has done it, then only they are protected under it. If the platform in any way interfered, or let's say they have selected the audience, or let's say they have selected the receiver, okay, in that particular case, or you can say they have edited the information, in that particular case the intermediaries will be liable. Okay, so that is given here. The protection shall be applicable if the intermediary does not in any way initiated the transmission of the message in the question, select the receiver of the transmitted message, or modify any information contained in the transmission. Okay, now another requirement of the safe harbor protection is that intermediary must adhere to the intermediary guidelines and the digital media ethics code, which has been which came into force in 2021. Okay, so there is this particular ethical code, and you can say there are certain guidelines which has to be followed, and this protection will be given to the intermediaries if they have followed this particular you can say code. In this particular code, there are certain things which has been given, like one is a grievance redressal mechanism should be there, one thing. Second thing is there is a resident grievance officer in that particular, you can say whatever you can say work culture you have, in that particularly you should have a resident grievance officer, a chief compliance officer, a nodal contact person. These three people should be there in your work culture and the workforce. Okay, then comes the section 79 clause 3, that says the protection will not apply if the intermediary, despite being informed by the government or its agencies, does not immediately remove or disable the access to the material in question. Okay, so one more thing is that in section 79 clause 3, it is that the first thing is they have said that there will be a safe protection, and there are certain conditions which has to be followed by the intermediary. Okay, in the next section it has subsection, it is said that you will not get the protection if you have not followed the guidelines, or you can say any direction which has been given by the central government. Okay, in this regard, saying that you should immediately take down that particular content. Okay, if you take down that content, that is fine. Otherwise, if you don't, then you will not be able to get that protection under the you can say IT Act. Okay, so that is there. The intermediary cannot tamper with any evidence of this message content on this particular platform, failing which it might lose the protection under the act. Obviously, here they are saying that there are certain guidelines which has to be followed. Here they have said that if center give you a particular direction, then you have to follow that, and here they have said that they cannot interfere with the transmission or the communication. Okay, now there are other rules, like rule 7 of the IT rules 2021 states that if an intermediary fails to observe these rules, the provisions subsection 1 and of the section 79 of the act shall not be applicable. So basically they are saying that there is this rule which is saying that if you are unable to follow the guidelines, if you are not able to follow the rules, in that case this particular you can say protection will not apply to you. Okay, intermediary shall be liable for the punishment in that particular case. Okay, now there is section 230 of the US Constitution, which is not important for us. Okay, US Communication Decency Act, which is not important for us, but you can say that these are kind of similar provisions when we are talking about the section 79 and section 230 of the US Act. Okay, now previous rulings, if we are talking about, so this is not the first time. Earlier also there has been certain petitions which are filed under such things. You can edit the Wikipedia article and ask the petitioner to avail any other remedy available to them under the law. Okay, so there was this issue earlier as well. Okay, in that particular point they have said that on October 10th Supreme Court dismisses a bench of petition filed by the Ayurvedic Medicine Manufacturer Organization of India, alleging that the articles published in the Wikipedia about them was defamatory. A bench of Justice A.S. Bopanna and P.S. Narasimha, they have said that you can edit the Wikipedia article and ask the petitioners to avail any other remedy available to them under the law. So basically here Supreme Court said that before coming to the court, you should have asked the intermediary to make sure that they edit the article, okay, or make the necessary changes, or if there is any kind of other legal resource available. Okay, so that is there. In the end, court has said that while we acknowledge the utility of these platforms which provide free access to the knowledge across the globe, but we must also sound a note of caution against such sources for legal dispute resolution. Okay, so basically they are saying that before coming to the court, if there is, since they have provided for a grievance officer, they have provided for a chief compliance officer, so first you have to go through that particular step. Okay, otherwise what happens is that if such litigation start coming to directly to court, then it might increase the pendency. Okay, anyway, here you will see, we must also sound a note of caution against using such sources for legal dispute resolution. These sources are based on crowd sources and the user generate editing model that not comply with the dependable and the can promote misleading informations. Okay, since these platforms are not basically generating their own information, they are actually relying on the information provided by the users. Okay, in that case, if there is certain kind of comment which has been made and which is defamatory in nature, so you can go for the editing of that particular comment. Okay, so that is about this particular article which we have seen. For your prelims etc., what is important is that section 79 of IT Act 2000, and what is it called, that is safe harbor protection clause. Okay, earlier also that particular term was in news for some reason, so that is that, please remember that. Now moving further to the next article, which is related to the RBI's job data. Okay, yesterday we have discussed that RBI has come up with their data, and what else was there is that employment is increasing, or you can say there are certain data which has been discussed on the KLEMS. Okay, that is capital, then labor, then you can say the energy, material, services, etc. On the basis of that, they have come up with the data that how the employment rates are performing when we are talking about the Indian markets. Okay, they have come up with this particular data. Before that, there was another data which has been given, that is the Citigroup report. Okay, now in Citigroup report, it was said that despite having the demographic dividend, okay, India's economy or on the employment front might not do good because the kind of rates at which we are generating the employment, and the second thing is the kind of employment which we are generating, the quality of the employment which we are generating, that is not up to mark. Okay, but the thing is, the ministry has actually given a response. Military has said that there are certain aspects which they did not cover. Okay, so let's go through this article again. Yesterday we have discussed what is the increase, etc. We have discussed the data, so I will not go deep into the data. I'll just tell you that the employment growth in India jumped by nearly 6% in the last fiscal year to this fiscal year. Okay, 2023, 24 to 24, 25. Okay, so that is there. Now, that is from the 2023, 2022, 23 to 2023, 24. That is 23 fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. So in fiscal year 23, the rate was 3.2% somewhere, and when we are talking about the fiscal year 24, the rate was 6%. Okay, so we are talking about the employment growth. Okay, so that is there, that is the data of RBI. Okay, other than that also the RBI has said that there are certain other when we are talking about the opportunities, when we are talking about the labor force participation of female, etc., that has increased. Okay, so let's come to the article here. So this we have discussed. Now, which measure productivity at the industry level? This particular data is basically giving you a idea of productivity at the industrial level, because they have actually gone through all the segment of the Indian industry when we are talking about the agriculture, manufacturing, services, etc. Okay, other than that, they have actually gone for various aspects, like when we are talking about here, measures of the gross value added, gross value of output, labor employment, labor quality, capital stock, capital composition, consumption of the energy, material, services, inputs, etc. So they have actually gone through all these indicators. So that is quite comprehensive report. Okay, other than that, they have also gone for the, you can say, capital, labor, energy, material, and the services, which we have already seen. So basically, when we are talking about the term, that is RBI's KLEMS. Okay, so here K is for capital, L is for labor, E is for energy, M is for material, and S is for services. So please remember that. Now moving forward, here you can say that this particular report has covered nearly 27 industries, which is representative of the Indian economy. Okay, and when we are talking about other things, RBI's data comes after a few days after a research reported by the Citigroup India, which said that the country will struggle to create sufficient employment opportunities even with the growth rate, that is 7%. If we are going for such growth rate, even then we won't be able to catch up with the unemployment rates. Okay, so that claim has been refuted by the ministry. Okay, now moving further, that Citigroup's report, what they have said, that the India's demographic dividend Even 7% of the GDP might not be able to fulfill the job requirement over the next decade under reasonable assumptions. Okay. Now moving further here, we'll say while the official unemployment rate is just 3.2%, and for the this particular rate in youth is 16%. Detailed reflection serious issue around the quality of the job and possible underemployment or the unemployment. So basically, what they are saying that we have a you can say population which we are having a demographic dividend. That means that we have a young population, we have a population under the age which is younger, and basically that is that can participate in the workforce. But the thing is, they can only participate in the workforce if you have the work. Okay, if you don't have the job, where will they go? Okay, so ultimately they are saying that even if we grow at the rate of 7% in the upcoming years, then also in the 10 years, for a decade, we will not be able to give employment for everyone. Okay, so that has been the concern which has been raised by the Citigroup report. Okay, but when we are talking about you can say ministry sector, they have refuted this particular claim. A serious issue around the quality of job, possible underemployment. Agriculture accounts for 46% of the you can say workforce or the employment, but they are giving you less than 20% of the GDP. Okay, when we are talking about the manufacturing and the services, both absorb lesser share of the labor, but their share is relatively better than the agriculture. So that is there. When we are talking about the labor ministry, so labor ministry has actually said that the Citigroup report has been failed to account for various reasons. There are various things which they could not see. They did not see the data, government data from the periodic labor force survey, etc., Reserve Bank's KLEMS data. So all these things, since they did not go through these reports, that is why they are coming up with such assumptions. Okay, so that is about this article. Now moving further to the next one. Hold on a second. Okay. Coming to the next article, that is related to your Florida carpenter ants perform life-saving amputations. Amputation, we'll discuss what is amputations, but here the point is there are certain kind of ants. When we are talking about, these ants are basically performing certain activities which are having some kind of medical significance. Okay, or you can say they have this close to surgery related activities which they are doing in their own sphere. Okay, so Florida carpenter ants bite off the injured limbs of their nest mates to prevent the infection. Okay, now you must have known that if there is a limb of your body which is not performing well, if there is some kind of infection, or you can say tetanus, etc., if there is the infection which is, you can say, starting from the extreme of any particular limb. Okay, so there are certain times doctor will advise you to cut it off or chop it off. Okay, so basically that is what is also happening in the ants as well. So if there is a limb which has been basically infected by some issue, or if there is some kind of injuries, so these nest mates, actually, to prevent the infection, they actually cut it off. Okay, so let's see. Although other ant species are also known to tend the wounds of their injured, but by licking them off, or you can say what they do is that by licking them, they try to clean them. Okay, by licking the clean. This is the first time that the ant species has been known to use amputation to treat an injury. Okay, in most of the species they are doing it by licking them clean, so that is how they try to protect the infection area. But the thing is, in the Florida ants, you can see, or the Florida carpenter ants, you will see that they are basically going for the amputation. Now amputation is something we'll see over here. Amputation in medicine, removal of any part of the body. Okay, so that is there. Commonly the term is restricted to mean surgical removal of a part or entire limb, either upper or lower extremities. Okay, so basically when we are trying to chop it off or trying to cut a particular limb, either you have to go for the extreme areas, like this. When we are talking about our hand, okay, so this is the extremity of the hand. Okay, now let's say if there is a infection over here, so you will chop it off till here. Okay, if the infection is still over here, then you will chop it off till here. Okay, so that is basically the idea over here, is that is a surgical removal of a part or the entire limb, either upper or the lower extremities. Okay, now the reason for the surgical amputation in general are injuries, infections, tumors, diabetes, or insufficient blood supply. Okay, so these are the reason for which you can go for the amputations. Okay, now coming to the next part over here, the ant ants in the study performed amputation on only certain leg injuries. Okay, so in this particular case we have seen that they go for the leg injuries if they are up to, you know, limited to a particular portion. Okay, so here they are methodical in their surgical practices. Aside from the humans, no other animal is known to conduct such amputations. So that is important factor over here. Only humans are known for this particular amputation tech, etc. But here you will see that these ants are also doing it. Okay, moving further, this raises a question about the intelligence and the ability to feel pain. So basically, if we are talking about this particular species, the carpenter ants, so basically here we are actually looking or studying the kind of pain they could feel, because obviously if you are going for such activities, okay, so this particular species is intelligent enough to know that you have to chop it off, because that the pain of that chopping would be, you know, very less in when we are talking about the whole body getting infected. Okay, so that is there. Now moving further, amputation appeared to be consensual. Now when they perform this amputation, you will see the patient, or the, you can say, the injured ant, they will be coming in the presence of that particular you know, their mates, and they will be there, and the other mate will be starting their procedure. Okay, here you will see the ant presents its injured leg and calmly sits there while another ant gnaws it off. Okay, so at that point of time they will take it off. Okay, now moving further, here you will see the researchers noticed that the ants would perform the procedure only on the next mate with thigh injuries. Okay, and not when the wound was further away from the body. Okay, so basically they are saying that they will go for the performance of this particular you can say surgery or this particular process only on the nest mates with thigh injuries. Okay, ants have several muscles throughout their bodies that keep hemolymph. Okay, hemolymph, that is basically their version of blood. When we are talking about our blood, okay, this is red, etc. But the thing is, in that ants there is this called, that is hemolymph. Okay, so hemolymph, their version of blood flowing. Florida carpenter ants has many such muscles in the thighs. Okay, so such muscles are present in the thighs. When they sustain any thigh injury, their flow of the hemolymph is reduced, making it more difficult for the bacteria to move from the wounds into the body. Okay, so basically when we are talking about these muscles or the hemolymph, so if there is an injury in the thighs, there are various muscles. Okay, these muscles ensure that the blood flow is not, or you can say blood flow is slowed down over there, and because of which these bacteria from the infected area cannot move to the blood in the other parts of the body. If the entire leg is amputated quickly, the chance of infection is very low. Okay, so obviously this is simply like the human thing, that if you are you know, having infection over here, and if you are cutting it off early, then obviously it will not spread to the other part of the body. Okay, but when a Florida carpenter ant injures its lower leg, bacteria can penetrate into the body very quickly. Lower leg, because there are not many muscles, these hemolymph muscles are not there, and because of which blood flow is very fast, and that is why the infection will actually spread very fast. Okay, so that is about the Florida carpenter ants and their amputation technology, etc. So you can remember that, just know that there is a particular species which can perform amputations like humans. Okay, so this question can be asked because UPSC is asking such questions with respect to the behaviors of the you can say particular species. Okay, now moving further, next part is basically from your international relations, that is related to, you can say, India-Russia relations, and we will be seeing other impacts, which other aspects of it, and we will see what has happened in this particular summit. We will not go into details of it, because obviously these are certain things that you know, that Russia has this collaboration with India when we are talking about the connectivity, because Russia's you know, when we are talking about the north side of Russia, that is Siberia, that is you can say ice capped. Okay, because of which they need you can say other ports, etc. for the communication. Second thing is, India is dependent for the imports, so there will always be a trade related talks when they are meeting. Other than that, India has this sensitive issue of terrorism when we are talking about, so every time they will visit, they will talk on the terrorism, they will talk on the oil. Okay, so all these things will be there. So these are certain common areas which I will be mentioning you. Okay, so let's start over here. Modi receives Russia's highest civilian honor. Okay, so we will be talking about that particular honor in the next slides. Okay, now PM tightrope. When we are talking about the Russia and the West, our India is walking on a tightrope, because we are trying to balance on the both the sides. Okay, then killing of children, very painful. Recently, you know that there was this strike which has happened in Ukraine, and there are basically in Kiev, and it was said that this was a strike by Russia, okay, but Russia has not taken the responsibility yet. But the thing is, Ukrainian side has said that that has been a blow to the peace process, okay. Second, next is listening to Putin. On this regard, they have talked about it, etc., and I have hope, okay. That is what PM has said. PM raised issue of Indian working with Russian army. Moscow promises release. Okay, so basically there are certain Indian diasporas which are working in the Russian army. So with respect to that, they have talked, acknowledging the that his visit to Moscow was being watched by the entire world, which was trying to decode its meaning. Prime Minister Narendra Modi walked the hard diplomatic tightrope in his meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Okay, so basically this particular meeting everyone is watching, because obviously when we are talking about the Western allies, okay, Western allies do not want that you can say India should be in the influence of Russia. Okay, when we are talking about China, China does not want that India and Russia be close. Okay, second thing is when we are talking about Russia is going close to China, and India does not want that as well. Okay, so that things are there. Okay, now moving further, here we will see a day after a suspected Russian missile struck children's hospital in Ukraine's capital Kiev, Modi told Putin that the death of the innocent children caused pain and the heart simply explodes. Peace talks do not succeed amid the bombs, guns, and bullets. The solution to this particular issue cannot be found on the battlefield. So basically, we have reiterated again that you should go for talks and the diplomacy and dialogues, etc., and not on the, you can say, bombs and the bullets. Okay. Now, on this particular part here, you will see Zelensky on PM Putin meets. They have said that it is a blow to peace bid, huge disappointment. Okay, so basically that is why, because at that point of time when the Indian Prime Minister is visiting Russia, actually there was this attack which has been performed on the Kiev. Okay, so that is why they have seen kind of disappointment in that. So basically they have said that this particular issue which has happened, or particular attack which has happened, that is a blow to the peace bid. Okay, and it is a huge disappointment. Now coming to the next part over here, more joint venture to be set up to tackle issues. Russia, India agreed to speed up the delivery of the military spare parts. When we are talking about the defense related equipments, when we talk about India is kind of dependent on Russia when we are talking about the defense technologies. Okay, recently because of the war which is going on in Ukraine, and that is why these, you can say, deliveries of the military spare parts was delayed, and they have talked about it, and Russia has said that they will try to speed it up. Okay, so here we will say spare parts of the Russian origin military platforms by setting up a joint venture in India among other ways, and discuss the bilateral defense ties at the 22nd India Russia annual summit in Moscow. So that is there, that is a special arrangement when we are talking about the India Russia, this annual summits of the PM and the, or you can say, supreme leaders over here. So basically this is happening at you can say at every year, you can say that happens, and alternatively once it will be there in Russia, and then it will be in India. Okay, most of India's existing military hardware is Russian origin and needs a regular supply of spare for the maintenance. The Ukraine war has also delayed the Russia's scheduled deliveries of the certain big ticket weapon systems like S-400, etc. Okay, so these such things has been delayed, and that is why we are talking about the defense. Other than that, also these supplies are important for us because we are having this standoff on the Galwan sector. When we are talking about the LAC, we are having this issue with China, and it is in the 5th year of that. So we are also trying to be prepared about certain things, and that is why such you can say these deliveries are important for us. Now India is trying to be more self-reliant, so they are going for the domestic procurements as well as they are going for the other partners like Poland and Georgia. Okay, now identify alternative source for the spares and ammunition amidst the war. Okay, so that is normal. If from somewhere, if your demands are not getting fulfilled, you will go for the diversification. Okay, now we have talked about this particular thing, so that is not important for us. Other than that, we are going for the joint ventures. We are going for the, when we are talking about the defense related equipments, we are trying to actually go for the joint venture wherein Russia will give you the technological know-how and we will start manufacturing indigenously. Okay, so that is about it. Now moving further, to the next article, which is also related to it, that India Russia joint statement, terror attacks condemned and 100 billion trade target. So here you will see that both sides have strived to forge a contemporary balance, mutually beneficial, sustainable and the long term partnership. These are the key terms which you, if you remember and try to reproduce in the exam, that will be quite helpful for you. Now second thing is, they have strongly condemned the recent drastic you can say terrorist attack which has happened on the army convoy in Kathua recently. Yesterday we have talked about that. Second thing is the Dagestan. When we are talking about Dagestan is a Russian province. Okay, so in the southwest of Russia there is this area, that is Dagestan. There was this attack which has happened over here, and on the Crocus City Hall in Moscow, which has happened in 22nd of March. So because of all these incidents which has happened, they have condemned the terrorism. Okay. Now coming to the next part, that is called for an uncompromising fight against the international terrorism and the extremism in all forms and the manifestations. This is the stand of India whenever there is a talk about the terrorism and the extremism. So they have already always said that we are against any kind of or any form of terrorism and extremism. Okay, so that is also there, and they have said that we have to go for the implementation of the UN charters and the UN rules and regulations which are there with respect to the terrorism. Okay. So stress the need for the firm implementation of the relevant resolution on the UN Security Council, the UN General Assembly, as well as the implementation of the UN Global Counter-Terrorism strategies. Okay, so basically they have said that we will go for the implementation of such things. Okay, then coming to the next part, they have actually gone for the call for the agreement with respect to the trade, and they have said that they will try to have a target of 100 billion US dollars by 2030. Okay, when we are talking about this target, this was 30 billion for, or you can say by 2025. Okay, so that is nearly 3 times more in the next 5 years. Okay, they have also agreed to increase the cargo turnover with India through the launch of new routes of the North-South International Transport Corridor, which we have earlier we might have talked about it. North-South International Transport Corridor, that is there. Other than that also there is this Northern Sea Route. As I told you, Russia has these ports which are actually ice caps, and that is why they are going for various routes. When we are talking about this Northern Sea Route, now they are taking it because there are certain melting incidents which are happening in the north. Okay, and then there is this Chennai Vladivostok sea line. Okay, we have talked about that earlier in a particularly, I can say that I remember the map which I have shown about this. Okay, so that is about it. Moving further, another thing which has happened in this particular visit, that is related to the highest civilian order which has been given to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that is order of Saint Andrew the Apostle. Okay, apostle means these are the people who were actually disciples of the Jesus Christ, and after the you can say he was crucified, they went to different distances to spread the message of the Christ. Okay, so that is about this particular order which has been given to Narendra Modi recently. Okay, and when we are talking about the Saint Andrews the Apostle, or you can say the name of this particular order has came from the name of Saint Andrews, and he was a apostle. Apostle, as I told you, these are the people who are disciples of the Jesus Christ, and they have spread the message of Christ in various distances. Okay, so that is there. And who gets this award? So basically, when we are talking about the, you can say, prominent governments, public figures, military leaders, outstanding representatives of the science, culture, art and various sectors of economy for exceptional service to Russia. This is also given to the foreign heads, okay, the heads of the foreign states for outstanding service to Russia. This was the, you can say, this award was announced in 2019 for our Prime Minister for exceptional work which he has done in the, you can say, relations between Russia and India. Okay, friendly relations between Russia and India. Other than that, if we are talking about the Saint Andrews, is regarded as the patron saint of Russia and Scotland. The X symbol on the flags of Scotland comes from the saint symbol and called the saltire. Saltire. Okay, this saltire symbol or the cross symbol which is there on the flag of Scotland, that is basically came from, or you can say that it was said that this Saint Andrew was crucified on this kind of you can say cross, and that is why that becomes the sign of that particular saint, and then various countries has adopted it as the you can say mark on their flags. Okay, now moving further, the Tsar Peter the Great 1672 to 1725, he has established the order of the Saint Andrews in 1698. Okay, but then it was actually abolished in 1918 because of the Russian revolution which has happened at that point of time, and in the Russian Revolution they have actually removed the Tsar's regimes. So when this Tsar's regime were removed, so this particular honor was also removed, but it was actually restarted or re-established in 1998. Okay, so I hope that is clear. And who received the honor earlier? There are various people who has received the honor earlier in Russia, but when we are talking about the foreign leaders, recently in 2017, China's president, that is basically Xi Jinping, he has received this honor, and after that in 2019 it was announced for our PM, and he has received it now. Okay, I hope that is clear. That is sufficient for you to remember. Now moving further, that is basically when we are talking about India, seen as a strong pillar of the new world order, Russia is trusted ally. So again, you can go through this article because this is related to the same things. This highlighted part you can see. I have chosen this article because there are certain terms which they have used over here. Here you can see Sukh Dukha Sathi, Russia. If you are writing all weather friend, okay, ironclad friend, or these are fine, but if you write is Sukh Dukha Sathi as said by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, so that will give a different kind of impact. Okay, when we are talking about Nepal, we use the term that roti beti ka rishta. Now these terms are having a strategic importance. Okay, so you can use this, so that is there. Other than that, also here you will see there are certain things like these this is the Russian term, so pronunciation can be different. This is Dhruva. Okay, so this word is there for the dosti or the friendship. Okay, so these things which has been used by the Prime Minister, so you can go through this. Now West more concerned than China about India-Russia ties. Okay, so that is China Daily, or there is this newspaper which is there in China. They have said that more than the West, more than the China, West is concerned. Okay. No doubt, obviously West is concerned because China is rising, and Russia and China's friendship is having some kind of concerns. Okay, but the thing is, when we are talking about Russia and China, they are also inherently competing with each other when we are talking about the Asian region. Okay, so when we are talking about the Asian region, these are the competitors: India, Russia and China. Okay, India and Russia are having way closer ties. Okay, and when we are talking about the China and Russia's ties, they have been, you can say, transitional or the transactional ties. Okay, with time, if they need each other, they have been with each other. Otherwise there was issues in Russia and China relations as well. Okay, so right now China is saying that the West is way more concerned than the China, and obviously because as I told you that India is walking on the tightrope between the West and the Russia. Why? Because Western countries are basically supporting Ukraine, and India is not actually taking any sides, but they have not condemned Russia as well. Okay, because India's trade, when we are talking about the imports, there are various things on which we are dependent on Russia. One is import, and our oil is also, Russia is giving you cheaper oil, so that is there. So because of which they are saying that Western countries are more concerned, because obviously India is important for the Western countries as well as. Okay. Now moving further, and this is the last part, that is basically related to the High Sea Treaty. Okay, so there are certain areas India will sign and ratify High Sea Treaties, the agreement which deals with the ocean outside the country's national jurisdiction and can help protect marine ecology and ensure equitable sharing of marine resources. Okay, so that is the High Sea Treaty. When actually India signs and ratify it, we will come to it. For now, you can go through this particular article. Okay, now with that I will wrap up the session. We will take a practice question for you, and then we will end the discussion. So the practice question here is that the Republic of Dagestan was in the news recently. Where is it located? Finland, Russia, China and Mongolia. So you can attempt this question, answer in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, have a good day. Thank you.